Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I'm doing a video that's long overdue. I've just been busy with projects that I wanted to finish up, and so I haven't had a chance to get around to unboxing these items yet. So there's a little spoiler alert for you. It's going to be an unboxing video, but not just an unboxing video. We're also going to be doing some testing of these items. So I did give a little preview of one of these items in the Facebook group previously, which you may or may not recognize, and we're going to take a look at this in a moment. But before we do, I have to get my supplies set up. So I have my Okanagan cider black cherry combined with my Cloud People coaster, which we always have to have on hand. And this is a nice drink if you like something sweet, kind of cidery, kind of coolery tasting, which I do. So this is a nice drink if you like sweet drinks, although I'm almost running out of these, so I'm going to have to get some more. Okay, so now let's get to the topic of today's video. Here I have some products that were sent to me by Ricky of YouMakeRobots, which reminds me, before we get started, I just need to dig out one item here. So this was a special request. I asked Ricky to send me some of these YouMakeRobot stickers, which I'm sure you've all seen in other people's videos or on the products themselves or on various packaging. But with all the products that I've received from Ricky, I've never got one of these stickers. So I asked him, could you please send me a sticker? And he sent me 3 of them, which is awesome. So I want to use one right now. And of course it doesn't have one of those tear things on the back, so it's going to take me forever to get this thing off, probably. Oh, no, I think I got it. All right, so for now I'm just going to put this one here on my shirt. So we have YouMakeRobots combined with Canada, and so it's a kind of a UK-Canada connection video today. So I'll save these stickers for some other things, but they will get used. So here is the first product I want to show you. This is an enclosure for the Aquapad Aquarius controller, which some of you may be familiar with if you're into Aquarius computers. This one I asked Ricky to make up for me special with the Canadian flag on it and the Canadian coloring, and it even has a large Canadian flag on the back, which looks really awesome. So I want to use this, but unfortunately it doesn't fit any of the controllers that I own that I would want to swap out the enclosure for. So I think I'm going to have to probably buy some electronic guts to put inside here to make this actually work. But for today I'm just giving you a little preview of what is probably going to come up in a future video, or at least Facebook post, once I get this thing actually assembled into a working controller. So what we're going to take a look at today is a couple other items that Ricky was kind enough to send me. These are all gifts, by the way. Ricky has been very generous in giving me gifts. He gave me this enclosure just because I requested it, which was really nice of him, as well as the items in this box, which we're going to take a look at right now. So let's see what we have. I'll just show you what it looks like on the inside. So there are a couple items in here, and let's take a look at this one first. As you can probably guess, it's a controller of some sort, and I'm just going to take both of these out of the box to free up a bit of space for myself here. Okay, so let's open up these items and see what we have. Okay, here we go. Take a look. This one is called, can you see? Called a YMR for YouMakeRobots Pad. And it has a thumbstick here and 2 buttons. So, oh, and it has a power switch on top as well. So what is this for? This, I believe, is for What is this for? I think this is an Atari-compatible controller for games that use Atari controllers. But this uses a thumbstick. So I'm just going to look up on the website to see what this thing is for before I assume what it's for, and I'll take a look. Alright, so here we are on the YouMakeRobots site, and this is the YMR Pad. So let's see what this thing is. So I'll search YMR Pad. Okay, there are a couple options here. Here it is here, I believe. YMR Pad Maxi Joy Pad. I don't know if I like the sound of that name particularly, but that's what it's called. YMR Pad. Okay, I'm just going to call it YMR Pad. Works with Atari 8-bits and ST, ZX Spectrum Chemstin interface, etc. Any other retro that is compatible with Atari type joysticks. This is using a PS2 type thumbstick for better playability. Okay, so this is an Atari compatible controller that uses a thumbstick. Alright, so that's cool. It's an Atari style controller that has a thumb pad on it. So before I hook this up, and I am going to hook this up to something, I'm not sure what yet, but I'll hook it up in a moment after we take a look at these and finish the unboxing part of this video. And so first of all, I want to say that this has a nice look to it, and I really like these curved edges on the handles, which I don't know if this particular model always had the curved handles or not, but I've had, and I do have, controllers from Ricky that have both the curved style handles and the straight style handles, and I prefer the curved ones because they're a lot more comfortable. And this controller is nice and thin as well. As you can see, it has a nice thin profile here. It has a nice feel. Yeah, very comfortable. The buttons have a good action to them. The stick has a nice action to it. And up top it has a power button and a cable. So a very simple device. It's just a 2-button Atari style controller. So we'll go ahead and test that out in a moment. So this would need to be used with a system that supplies power out of the joystick port, because this thing requires power in order for the thumbstick to work. Okay, so that's the first item we have out of our package. Now let's take a look at our second item. Oh, look at this. So this is really cute. This is also labeled YMR Pad. Yep, they both have this YMR Pad sticker on the front here, which looks really cool. I love these little YouMakeRobot stickers. They're awesome. Oh, and look at this funky color it has here, like a rainbow effect thumbstick. And this one also has 2 buttons. All right, let's search for YMR Pad again. And here it is here, YMR Pad Joypad Mini. Yep, and there it is. So this is another Atari compatible controller. Okay, cool. New. From feedback, I made the thumbstick longer and beveled the edges. Okay, nice. Here's some pictures of it. And you can see on the back here, it has some switches. So what do these switches do? I don't know if it says on here what the switches do, but I have an idea what they do. I think what the switches do is control how these buttons work. It controls the operation of these buttons. Whether, I think one button can be set to operate as up for jumping games that use up, but I'm not sure exactly what the settings do, and I don't see on here. Oh, here we go. Description. The dip switch on the back controls whether second fire button is used for. So the second fire button, I'm guessing, is the yellow one. I'm guessing. Whether it's used for secondary press, up / jump, off on, second fire off on. So the switches on the back, it looks like it determines the operation of what the second fire button does. Either it works as up or it works as a second fire button. Okay, cool. Now this one, let me switch my camera. Let's switch my camera back. Well, look at all the products he has on his website. Oh, nice. Okay. So let me switch back. All right, here we are. And here is our little mini YMR pad, which is Atari-compatible controller, just like the larger one we just took a look at, only this one uses an analog thumbstick. Although it's not operating in analog mode, it's going to obviously output digital signals because Atari joysticks and controllers use digital signals, up, down, left, right. So this is what it's going to output, but internally it uses this analog stick, so it needs electronics inside in order to make that happen. Now this one is different. This one is interesting. Well, they're both interesting, but this one, apparently this thumbstick uses micro switches or some sort of switches inside instead of the analog mechanism that a normal thumbstick uses. And yet when you press it, you can feel, maybe you can hear, well, I'll put it next to the microphone. You can hear it activating the micro switches when I move it. So this will be interesting to try. I've never used a thumbstick that had switches inside, so this will be really interesting to try. So now let's go ahead and hook up both of these controllers to some system of some sort, and we'll see how they work. Okay, so before we go ahead and try out these controllers, I'm just going to take a little detour here because I'm so curious to see what this controller looks like on the inside, and particularly the switches that are used for the thumbstick, that I'm going to go ahead and open it up and take a look inside just to satisfy my curiosity. Hopefully I don't break anything, but that's what I'm going to do. So it looks like it just has one panel on the back that's held on with 4 screws. Okay, those are very easy to get out. Now I'll see, okay, so this back panel comes off very easily. And there inside we have, of course, a circuit board with the dip switch on it. And the circuit board is held in with 4 screws as well. So I'm going to take those out because I'm just curious to see what this thing looks like with those switches, and if I'll even be able to see the switches or how this thing is actually assembled. Okay, I got the screws out. Now can I get this board out somewhat easily? It looks like I can, but the thumbstick cap doesn't fit through the hole. So I don't know if this is glued on or if I can just pop it off. Oh, it pops off. Excellent. So it's got a little square hole on the back, which is how it's mounted onto. Okay, there we go. Ricky, I hope you don't mind me taking this thing apart, but I'm just so curious. So here we go. This is what the board looks like. It has a switch here, which must activate in 4 directions somehow. I was actually expecting to see 4 switches in here, but I didn't know you can buy switches like this that act in 4 directions, like a thumbstick would. So that's pretty cool. So I'll go ahead and put this back together now, and we'll test out these controllers and see how they work. So I've decided to test these controllers using my Aquarius Plus full-size unit because it does have joystick controller connector ports on it, and I thought this would be a good way to test these controllers. And you can see I've moved my YouMakeRobots sticker from my shirt over here to my Aquarius Plus case, so it's now at home with my Cloud People sticker and my UFO sticker. Alright, so let's go ahead and switch the screen over now. We'll connect up these controllers, and first I think I will connect up the full-size one and see how that one works with this Aquarius Plus. But before we do that, one thing I forgot to mention is that the ports on the Aquarius Plus computer are not compatible with Atari style joysticks and controllers natively. You have to have an adapter cable in order for them to work, which I do have. I have an adapter cable here that I made, which allows me to connect an Atari style joystick into this connector, and then I can use that to plug it into my Aquarius Plus computer. So don't try plugging a regular Atari style joystick into the Aquarius Plus without this adapter, because it won't work, but I can do it because I have the adapter. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that now. Alright, so here we go. I have the YMR full-size pad connected to my Aquarius Plus full-size computer through an adapter cable, and I've just gone into the games directory here on my SD card, and I'm going to try playing Jetpack, which I've never played before. That game was developed by Mac Wharton, otherwise known aka Aquamac. So let's go ahead and see if we can try this game and see how it works with this controller. Okay, so I don't have the sound hooked up. You're not going to hear any game sounds, but I am going to try using this controller to play the game. Okay, so I'm pressing the yellow button here. Okay, that makes him shoot. I'm not very good at this. I'm not very good at most games. So I can shoot, but I can't fly. And you know what? I just remembered probably why that is, because this controller requires power coming out of the joystick port from the computer, which the Aquarius Plus doesn't have. So I'm not going to be able to use this stick or this controller with the Aquarius Plus. But let's try the mini controller, because that one shouldn't require power. Okay, so it's actually the next day now. I was having some difficulty getting these controllers to work, as you saw in the first part of this video. And I actually just put them back in the box momentarily because I needed to clean up my workspace. I have a very small work area, so I had to put things back while I thought about what I wanted to do. So, for a quick recap here, remember I was testing this controller, this YMR Pad controller, which is an Atari-compatible controller. This one was not working with my Aquarius Plus computer because it doesn't supply, the computer doesn't supply power out of the joystick ports, and this thing needs power to operate because it has an electronic circuit board inside. So this one, what I'm going to do next is try it on my Speccy Next computer, which does supply power out of the joystick port. And this mini controller that you saw I had disassembled in the first part of this video. So this one I wasn't able to get working on the Aquarius Plus computer, which I think it should work because it is just a regular non-powered controller that should work with the Aquarius Plus as long as I'm using the Atari joystick adapter cable, which I had built. But I couldn't get it to work. I was able to get the fire button to work sometimes, but I noticed there is, from probably my messing around with this thing, there is a wire that has become detached here, this red one. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to resolder this wire that I broke back to where it's supposed to go, and probably take a look at the other wires to make sure that they're soldered securely as well. And then I'll just do some diagnostics on this controller before I reassemble it to see if it should be working. And I'm not sure exactly how these switches are supposed to be configured in order to determine the operation of that second fire button, but I can just play around with them to figure that out. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to get this YMR pad working. I'm not giving up on these things. I I received these items and I'm going to get them working one way or the other. So this one is going to be next. I'm expecting that I should be able to just plug it into the Speccy Next and see it working. So that's what we're going to try next. So stick around and we'll find out. Alright, so here we are. I have my YMR Pad controller connected up to my Speccy Next computer here. And we're going to try to play a game using this controller. And the game we're going to try is Warhawk. It's an old, well, it's a classic game that everyone seems to play on the Speccy Next. So let's start it up and see how it works with this controller. This controller does have a power button here, but I don't think it has a power light on it anywhere to let me know when it's powered on. So I'm just going to push it in, assuming that means it's on. And now we'll go ahead and start up the game, Warhawk. Or maybe not. I think I have to reset this computer. I have no idea what's going on here, why it's coming up with this list of cores. I'm not trying to change the core. I'm just trying to play a game. Let me try restarting it again. I'll take out the SD card and just reseat everything in case something went weird here. Turn it on again. Hopefully it starts up properly this time. Or not. One reason I don't use my Speccy Next very often anymore, I find it can have some issues sometimes which make it not exactly plug and play sometimes. So I like plug and play functionality. I like to just turn something on and have it work the first time, every time. So let's see what I'm doing wrong here. Okay, I don't know what this means. I'm just going to press enter and see why it's asking me to select a core. Alright, so I've restarted it without the joystick plugged in, or without the controller plugged in, I should say. And now it's starting up properly. So is it having issues booting because of the controller? I don't know. So I'm going to try this again. I'm going to plug in the controller with it powered off. It doesn't let me change the menu selections using either the keyboard or the controller. I think this is an issue that Ricky told me about, where there are some components inside the controller that need to be swapped out with different values that will allow this to work. So I may need to do that before I can test this controller. Alright, I'm back. What I'm going to do now is disassemble this controller to see what parts I need to swap out. And it looks like to do that I need to remove some screws here along this top edge. And there's a couple more screws here on the underside. So I'll go ahead and take those out. Then here's the inside of the controller. And according to Ricky's instructions, I need to replace the 4 resistors to the left of the chip. Right here. And then I also need to replace the trim pot. And at some point in the future we'll come back and continue on with this video. Alright, so slight change of plans here. I decided to try adjusting this potentiometer here. You can't see it from where you are, but there's a potentiometer here on the board. And I just tried cranking it all the way to one side. And now I see that the menu on the Speccy Next is working. So let's see if this controller will work with the game now. It may not be that simple, and I suspect it's probably not. But let's give it a try here. Okay, let's try Night Night. And he does jump when I press the yellow button here, but he's not walking in any direction. I'll just try adjusting this potentiometer, again randomly, just to see if it makes any difference. Oh, now he's moving. Okay, let's see if that works. Oh, now he's moving. Oh, look at that. Now I'll press the yellow button. Yep, now he's jumping. Okay, so now he's doing his thing. So this controller is working now, and I didn't need to replace the components inside, although I still may do that just in case it helps things out. But yeah, it's working. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do now is, I think I'll go back and try Warhawk again. And the menu does still work. Oh, and it works with the controller now as well. Cool. Okay, let's see if I can control the browser. Okay, we'll go back up to Warhawk down here. And we'll select Warhawk. Alright, you may not be able to hear the sound, but trust me, the sound is playing, which doesn't matter. I'm just trying out this controller anyway. Alright, let's give this controller a try here. Oh, now I can control it. And now I can fire as well. Nice. Oh, get away from there. I warned you I'm not very good at these games. Or any games, really. But yeah, this controller works well, even though I'm not good at the game. The controller itself is working well. You can see I'm able to move and fire. Now this controller does not have auto fire feature to my knowledge. I think this button at the top is strictly an on-off button. And it's still working. So there we go. Okay, I'll switch over the screen now. So this controller is working with the Speccy Next computer. It has a nice feel to it. The thumbstick is very responsive. The button works well, and I say button even though there's two buttons on it. The game is only programmed to work with one button, I presume. So the button works well, the joystick works well, it feels nice in the hand, and it's pretty cool. And it has a nice YMR robot logo on it, which is always nice. So this controller test was a success, and next what I'm going to do is try to get the mini controller working, and we'll come back and give that a try. So I'm starting up the Speccy Next with this mini controller connected, and I haven't put the case back on it yet. I just want to test it like this, and I'm just holding this loose wire in place against the contact before I resolder everything and do some more in-depth testing. So for now I'm just moving the switch, and it doesn't seem to have any effect on the menu, although the buttons do. So the yellow button right now seems to back me out to the higher level menu, and the red button selects whatever I'm looking at in the menu, I think. I can select the Warhawk game here, for example, using the red button, and it brings me into the game. Although I don't think I'll be able to play the game because the directional switch here, I think so far is not responding. I'll press the red button to start the game. So the red button seems to be working to actually start the game. The switch is not working to do anything, but the red button definitely is working. So I should be able to fire my lasers here from my ship. Yep. So the red button fires the lasers, the other button is not doing anything, and the switch controller for directions is not doing anything. So we have one button working. Actually, it looks like both buttons are working, but the switch I still need to get working, which shouldn't be difficult because this is just it's a simple passive circuit. There are no active components in this board at all. It should be just switches and wires. So as long as the switches and wires are working, then the controller should be working. So I'm going to take a look at this more closely a little bit right now, and then we'll come back and see. Alright, so as you can see, I've taken apart this switch, or this thumbstick, whatever you want to call it, to see what's inside. And as you can see, it has 4 pads here for up, down, left, and right. And here on the actuator, as you can see, there are little bumps that would press into these pads to cause the movement for the stick. So if I were to press on those pads manually, for example, you can see when I press the up button, it makes a clicking sound. So that seems like it should work. Down also clicks, but left and right do not. So I'm not sure why. Maybe the domes inside this switch for left and right are stuck down in the position where they're always being active. I don't know. I'll see if I can take this apart maybe a bit further just to take a look if I can see anything wrong with it. And I might just go ahead and order a new one of these switches and try replacing it to see if that might be the issue. Alright, so I've decided to order a couple replacement switches to replace the thumb switch on this PC board. I'm not sure if this switch is actually having an issue or not, but I figured just to be safe, I'll go ahead and order some replacement switches that I can try swapping out. And I'll show you which ones I ordered. So I ordered these ones here, which look like they are pretty much exactly the same as the switch that's already installed on the board. So these are surface mount switches. It says 6-pin 5-way momentary square surface mount device, surface mount technology, tactile tact switch. So I ordered these switches here, which look pretty much exactly the same as what's on the board now. And I also ordered this thing, which may or may not be the same thing, but it looks pretty cool as well. So this one, it's called an 8-way hat switch, and I'm guessing that it has better control as far as the diagonals go, because this switch here, it's called a 5-way momentary switch. So those 5 ways would be up, down, left, right, and then I'm guessing the center shaft of this switch pushes in like a button. So that would be the 5th switch. And this one here, it's called an 8-way hat switch. So this one, I'm guessing the 8 ways would be up, down, left, right, and then 4 diagonals. I'm not sure. So I think this one probably doesn't have a push button. When you push down on the switch itself, it might not actually act as a switch when you push down on the shaft. But anyway, I'll have to just play around with it once I get it and try it out. So this one, you can see it's already mounted on a PC board. These ones here, I'm going to have to solder myself using these tabs on the side. You can see there are some tabs sticking out. There are 6 contacts that I need to solder onto the board, which shouldn't be a huge problem. This one, however, is already pre-mounted onto a tiny circuit board, but I can connect to it just by soldering some wires to these pads here and then terminating those wires on the switch inside the controller board, or sorry, on the circuit board inside the controller. So that should be interesting to try these out. This one won't arrive for a while. This one should arrive tomorrow. So I may try this one first and just see how it works, and then maybe once this one comes in, I could try swapping it out and see if this one works. So this is to be continued. We're going to wait until we get some parts in stock to swap out this switch, and in the meantime I'll do some experimentation to see if I can get the switch contacts working without maybe actually using this mechanical switch, just by doing it manually somehow. So that's where we're at. We have one final thing we need to do, which is replace the switch inside this mini YMR pad, which is really cool, by the way. It has a really nice feel to it. I'm really anxious to try this out once it gets working. But I'll have to do some repairs on it to fix that broken wire that I knocked off, and to replace the switch that I probably broke as well. So we'll come back once I get my replacement parts in, and we'll take it from there. Stick around. Okay, so we're back. I'm back. This is now the third or fourth day, and no, I'm not wearing the same shirt 4 days in a row. I just put it back on to record the videos for continuity purposes. But an exciting day today because we have received some replacement switches, which you can see here, which we will use to replace the one in the YMR Mini Atari-compatible gamepad. So I'll take one out and we'll take a look at it. And here is what it looks like. So you can see it has 6 contacts on it, right there. And it has a stick which should have 4 directions plus the 5th direction, which is pushing the switch down or pushing the shaft down. Alright, so if I push up, it clicks, down, click, and then right and left, it clicks as well. So it clicks in all 4 directions. That's a good sign. So I'll go ahead and solder this onto the board now, and we'll try out that YMR Mini Pad once again. So first I decided to just resolder that red wire that I had broken off earlier. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm simply resoldering that red wire to the pad where it came off from. And now I'm just going and touching up all the other wires to make sure that they are soldered securely as well. Alright, now if we turn the board over here, we can see the top of the disassembled switch, and I mistakenly thought that this was actually a surface mount part originally. So here what I'm doing is I'm just loading up the pins with solder, intending to heat them all up at once and then pry that side of the board, or that side of the part, up and off the board. But then I realized that this is actually a through-hole part. As we can see here, the pins come all the way through the board. So here I've decided to try and desolder them because I don't have too much choice, because I need to get this part off of the board. However, desoldering didn't work that well for me. I don't have a desoldering tool. All I have is that solder sucker device. So here you can see I just decided to hell with it. I'm just going to destroy this part completely and try to get at the top side of the pins so I can heat them up and then just pull them out without having to worry about desoldering the pins and potentially damaging the pads on the board. So here I'm just pulling out the pins by heating up the pads one by one, and I actually really prefer surface mount parts. And here is the replacement surface mount switch that I had bought, thinking that this was a surface mount part. But as you can see, the pins don't line up because it's actually a through-hole part that I removed, and the pad spacing is different. So what I'm going to do here is just fold over the pins so that they are not spaced quite so widely apart, and now they should fit nicely over these pads. But one thing I noticed is that these 2 pads here are spaced closer together than these 2 pads. So you do have to watch the orientation when you put this part onto the board. Now I'm just checking the spacing again, and I'm going to tack down 1 pin, just like that. And now I'm just going and soldering all the rest of the pins to connect this switch to the board. So I know some designers like to use through-hole parts. They think it's easier to work with, especially for beginners new to soldering, but I actually think that surface mount parts are not that difficult to work with. And here you can see the switch is clicking. Alright, so as you can see from the soldering clip that I should have inserted before this clip, doing this replacement was a pain in the ass, and I probably ranted about this already in the overdubbing of the soldering clip, but just to reiterate, I think some designers, and I'm not specifying Ricky in particular, but I know a lot of designers, for whatever reason, will prefer to use through-hole parts. I don't think that's necessary unless there's some other consideration like board design or cost consideration or parts availability, etc. But I think if you're good enough to solder a through-hole part, then you're probably almost good enough to solder a surface mount part. And surface mount parts are much easier to rework than through-hole parts. I think through-hole parts should be outlawed basically, and we should just all move to surface mount parts. They're cheaper, they're smaller, they save space, they're easier to work with, and once you acquire the relatively easy skill of working with surface mount parts, then your life is going to be a lot easier, I think. Anyway, so I've gone ahead, obviously, as you saw from the video, and resoldered the wires onto this board, as well as we've now replaced this switch, and this one clicks in all 4 directions plus the 5th direction. So I'll put it near the microphone here. I'm sure you can hear the clicking. This seems like it should work perfectly now. I hear clicking in all directions. So let's go ahead and hook this back up to our computer and test it out. You know what I'm going to do first though is, well, I'll wait until I switch the camera over, then I'll tell you what I'm going to do first. So hang on a second and we'll do that right now. Alright, now as you may have seen in a previous video of mine, I had used this joystick tester or controller tester that Ricky had sent me, and it is called Aquapad tester because it is intended to be used, and I'm looking around here for an Aquapad, it is intended to be used for testing Aquapad controllers such as this one here. And I showed that in the previous video, or a previous video. So I'm not sure if it can be used to test an Atari style controller or not. So here I'm going to just plug it in here. Alright, we get a little red light on it, and you can't see it, but it says Aquapad tester on the built-in display. So first I'm going to plug in an Aquapad and just test it using a regular Aquapad like we did last time. So here we go. If I'll turn it on. Alright. So I'll press up, down. Okay, so you can't see the screen, but take my word for it. It is giving me indicators on the little screen on the tester board there that all the directions and buttons are working. So now I'm going to unplug this Aquapad controller, and I think first I'll plug in a regular Atari joystick. So here I have a regular Atari-compatible joystick. It's not rewired specifically for the Aquarius or anything, it's just a regular Atari style joystick. And I'm going to see if this tester board can be used to test an Atari joystick. So you may be able to see the screen a little bit. I'll just manipulate the joystick here and we'll see what shows up on the screen. Up. So it looks like it's registering only 2 of the directions, and neither button registers anything here. So obviously this tester is probably not compatible with Atari controllers, so I don't think I can use it to test the controller that we just repaired. So let's go ahead and connect the controller that we just fixed to a computer again, and this time I think I'm going to connect it back up to the Aquarius Plus computer because I know how to program that to detect the controller signals, and I do have the adapter cable that allows me to connect an Atari style joystick to the Aquarius Plus, so I'll go ahead and do that now. Alright, so I've got my Aquarius Plus computer ready to go here, but I just thought of something, which is in order to connect a regular Atari style joystick to the Aquarius Plus, I need my adapter cable, which I have right here. So I thought maybe if I use this adapter cable to connect to the controller tester or the Aquapad tester that Ricky sent me, maybe that will allow it to test Atari style joysticks. So that's what I'm going to do. Let's go ahead and connect up this regular Atari style joystick to the Aquapad tester, just like that. And we'll go ahead and power this on. Where's the power cable I was using before? Right here. This is a cool device, by the way. I don't know if there are enclosures that are made for this, if you can buy an enclosure for it, but that would be really cool. I don't have a 3D printer myself to print my own enclosure, but if someone does have one, that would be cool to put this inside an enclosure, particularly if this was built inside another device, like maybe built right into a joystick housing or built into the housing of a custom computer like this Aquarius Plus, something like that. I like to combine different gadgets to have different functionality. Okay, so now let's bring up our joystick here. So there is the screen, and let's now move our joystick around and see if it registers anything on our screen. So up, down, yep. Now it's registering all the directions and the two fire buttons. You can see display is coming up on the screen when I move the stick and press the buttons. Okay, so that means that this device should be able to test our newly repaired Aquapad, what's the thing called? YMR Pad Mini. So let's hook this up and see if it can test it. I'll just disconnect my Atari joystick and we'll plug in the YMR Pad Mini here. Now I don't know how these dip switches on the back should be configured to determine the operation of this yellow button, but I don't think that really matters for testing purposes. Let's just see if we get any response from this thing at all. So I'll press up, nothing, down, nothing. Hard to hold this thing. Left, right. Okay, so nothing is registering with this tester. Oh, of course I have to put the adapter cable in there, don't I? Okay. Okay, so I've got the Aquapad Mini, or YMR Pad Mini, controller board connected up to this Aquapad tester device through an Aquarius adapter cable, which we need in order to connect Atari-style joysticks to an Aquarius computer. But, see if you can see the screen here. The screen right now is showing P5, even though nothing is being pressed on the controller. And if I press the button, nothing changes when I press the buttons. And if I press the thumbstick in different directions, up doesn't do anything, down doesn't do anything. If I press to the left, the P5 changes to P8, and if I press to the right, it changes to P4. But it's not working quite properly. So I'm going to do some offline diagnostics on this board. It should be pretty straightforward, and I should be able to get it working. As I said before, it's just switches and wires, so unless there's something wrong with the original design of this board, which I highly doubt, then I should be able to get it working. I maybe just could have made a short or something when I did my repairs. So I'll do some offline diagnostics on this board, and then I'll come back and I'll let you know what I found. Okay, so as you can see here, I have a very simple testing setup initially. I just have my continuity tester here connected at one end through a paper clip to the end of the joystick connector or plug, and I'm going to be probing the wires on the other end. So I've already done that, and over here you can see my results, the different pin numbers and which color wire they're connected to. And you will notice here that two of the pins, pin 4 and pin 7, connect to two wires, both blue and black. So I don't know if that is by design or if there's a short, but if you take a look at the testing here, it is connected at the plug end to pin 4. Well, I don't know if that's the actual pin numbering, but that's what I'm calling pin 4 because it's the fourth one over. Depending on whether the plug is male or female, the numbering may start from one end or the other. But for these purposes, I'm calling it pin 4. And over on this end, you can see if I probe the blue and black wires, the light comes on for both of those wires. So, and actually this is a very handy tester to have, because when you're doing wiring for things like joysticks or any kind of continuity testing, I don't have a multimeter, which is normally what people would use to do continuity testing. They would use the continuity tester setting on their multimeter, which I don't own. So normally what I would do is just get myself a battery, like a regular AA battery, and use paper clips and wires and try to rig up my own continuity tester. But I finally broke down and bought one. This one was not very expensive, but it's super handy. So what I'm going to do next, obviously, is check the circuit on this board to see if it looks like these two pins should actually be connected together. And before we do that, I just want to zoom in here and show you what the pins for that switch look like. So here you can see this is the switch here, right? And it has 6 pins on it. And on the back side, here are the 6 contacts, but it looks like only 4 of them are in use. This one here, this one here, this one here. Oh, okay. And then this one here. So that would make sense if you're just sensing up, down, left, and right. And then I presume it's connecting them to ground. So it's using up, down, left, and right for these contacts. And I presume one of these contacts probably goes to ground. And then the 5th one should be going to that center button that we're not using. So let's take a look and see if these 2 pins should indeed actually be shorted together, and then I'll come back. All right, so I'll just show you what I've discovered so far. And I'm looking here at a picture of the wiring on my computer monitor for this switch right here. So on the switch here, the pins are numbered along the left side. They're numbered 1, 2, 3, and then at the top right, 4, 5, and 6. As you can see here on the diagram, may not be easy to see, but here is pin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then here is the key of which pins should be connected based on which direction is being pressed. So for example, if you see here, it says position A should connect pins 1 and 4. And here you can see position A is up. And then pins 1 and 4 should be the top left and the top right. Now, if I test that on my board here, now, if I press up on this switch, then pins 1 and 4, which are the top left pin here and the top right pin here, should be connected, which should light up my continuity tester. So you can see right now, without pressing anything, pins 1 and 4 are not connected to each other. But if I press up, then the continuity tester lights up. So the up direction is working. One thing I did notice, however, though, according to the instructions, if you press down on this stick, then that should connect pins 1 and 6, which is the top left pin here and the bottom right pin here. But you can see here, even without pressing anything, if I test them with the continuity tester, they are connected. So I think this is a problem that I need to sort out, is that these pins 1 and 6 should not be connected by default unless I'm pressing down on this stick. So I'll do some troubleshooting here and see why they are connected. Now I've turned the board upside down here, in which case the pin numbering will be pin 1 is at the top right, pin 6 is at the bottom left, and these are the 2 pins that are shorted together, and pin 1 is actually the common pin. So pin 1 should be connected to ground, I would think. So I'm guessing that somewhere in this circuitry, pin 6 is connected to ground. So not necessarily through this switch, but anywhere on the board, I think that this pin 6 is probably shorted to ground somewhere. So that's my next troubleshooting step. All right, so pin 6 here goes here underneath this dip switch here. So I can't see exactly where this trace goes. It may pop out here and come up here to this red wire. Actually, I could test that, couldn't I? Since I am holding a continuity tester in my hand, let's just see if the red wire, I'll zoom out a bit here. Let's see if this red wire is actually connected to this trace here that goes down to pin 6. So no, it doesn't. So this pin 6 does not to the red wire on the end here because there's no continuity. So maybe this trace is coming up here and popping out here and going to this black wire. Let's check that out. Yes, so the black wire is connected to this pin 6 here. And just for the sake of completeness, we might as well go ahead and test this final trace coming out here. Well, actually, there's another trace here. But let's check this trace here. I don't think they would be connected, but let's check it out. Nope, they're not connected. And this last trace down here, which comes all the way over to the end here, is also not connected. Okay, so this trace here goes underneath this switch, and it comes up here to the black wire. So that means that the black wire is constantly being shorted to ground, which is up here. This is the common. So if I put my continuity tester between the black wire and ground, yes, we can see that they are connected. So now I just need to figure out where is the black wire getting shorted to ground. And I'll see if I can figure that out. So I've gone ahead and desoldered this black wire here, which used to connect to this pad here, and I've tried to clean it up as best I can. So I don't see any short that's obvious from this side of the board. And on the back side of the board, this is the pad here, and it's looking nice and clean as well. So let's go back to our continuity tester, and we'll check that connection again with the black wire no longer connected to anything. And we'll see if there's still a short between this pad and ground, which is up here. So first let's go ahead and test it over here. And yes, so there still is a short between these two pads. So we don't know where it is. It could be in the switch itself. It could be anywhere that any of these pins go through the board, because there could be shorting to the ground plane at any of these points. So what I'm going to do is try to cut this trace, and I think I'm just going to cut it right here. Now, the most certain way to make sure that you've actually cut the trace is to cut two ends of it and then remove the strip of copper from in between. So that's what I'm going to do. Let me zoom in a bit here. That might be a bit overkill in this case, since this trace is so short, it's pretty easy to tell whether or not it's connected. But let's go ahead and do it that way. All right, so there we go. We've removed the trace between these two cut points. So there should be no chance of there being continuity between this pad and this pad up here. Let's zoom out and we'll test that. All right, so these two pads are no longer connected. Now, is this pad still connected to ground, which is this pin 1 up here? No, it's not. Now, the big question is this pin 6 down here still connected to pin 1, which is ground? And it is. Okay, so that means the problem is either in the switch itself or somewhere maybe with this pad itself. What I decided to do is remove the whole switch, as you can see here. So remember, the problem we were having was that this pin here was shorting out to this pin here. So this pin here, which is pin 6, is on the top side, this pin here. So it was shorting between here and here. So let's go back now and see if, even without the switch installed, if those two pins are still shorting together. And they're still shorted together. Okay, so that tells me the problem is in the board. So this pin here is being shorted to ground, to the ground plane on the board. You see, even without a switch connected, this pin is connected to ground. So it looks like there's an issue with this board. And I'm not sure if maybe the top side pad here is shorting to ground. There could be a short right here, but this is the best that I've been able to clean it up. So I would have to take an X-Acto knife right here and just cut away this metal just to see if that is where it's shorting to ground. I think this purple on this top side of the board is the ground plane. As you can see, this pin 1 is purposely connected to this ground plane. As you can see here on the 4 edges, there are connections, right? Whereas these other pads here have a clear perimeter around their edge. So looking at this board here, normally these pads should have a clear border outline around them, so they're not connected to ground unless they're supposed to be, like this one with its 4 connection points. So this one here, it's kind of hard to tell. As I said, I've tried to clean it up as best I could, but this solder does not come up. So generally the reason for that is because there's a trace underneath there, or some extra copper underneath it, preventing me from getting all this solder up off the board. So what I'm going to do is just cut out this piece of solder here best I can and see if that helps the situation any. Now, I don't recommend anyone to try this at home. It's a very tricky procedure. So this is just me doing it on my own with my own board and taking my own risks. So do not follow my example here unless you're very skilled in circuit board repairs, which I've been working with electronics for decades. And I'm not an expert by any means, but I have a lot of experience with this type of thing. So there we go. I think I have been able to carve out any copper that might have existed between this pad and the purple, ground plane copper surrounding it. So now let's zoom out and get our continuity tester back here and see if that has made any difference. We'll go to the back side again like we've been doing all along. And it would be nice if the other end of this had some sort of pointy probe I could connect instead of having to use my janky paper clip arrangement here. But let's go ahead and test this out. Okay, there we go. It looks like we have successfully removed that short connecting pin 6 and pin 1. So the problem was not with the switch itself. The problem looks like there was either a defect on the board, or I may have just shorted it out myself when I was replacing this switch. So I've caused enough damage to this board. Let's see if I can finish fixing the damage I caused by replacing this switch. I'll just put a new switch on here, and I'm not going to bother showing you that process because you've seen it previously. Let me throw a new switch on here, and then we'll come back and do some testing. Okay, and here we go. We are back. We have a new switch installed on the top side now, and on the back side I have replaced this black wire, and I've installed another jumper wire, this other black wire here, going down to the pad where it used to connect to as well. All right, so now before we do anything else, let's just double check this continuity here to make sure our pad is no longer shorted. Okay, no longer shorted. That's a good sign. All right, let's go ahead and hook up this board to the joystick tester now and see how it looks now. Okay, we're back ready to do some more testing. We have our newly repaired YMR Mini controller board ready to do some tests with our Aquapad tester board using the Aquarius Atari adapter cable. So this adapter cable allows us to connect an Atari-compatible controller to our Aquarius computer, or in this case, to our Aquarius controller tester. So let's go ahead and connect them up. All right, our controller board is now connected to our tester board. And if you remember from earlier in the video, we were getting a signal showing up on this board, likely due to that short we found. And now I'm no longer seeing anything showing up on the screen other than the title. So now let's go ahead and try testing this controller. So I'll press up on the stick and it registers P13. I'll press down, P5. It's looking good so far. Left, P9, right, P1, and now I'll press the stick in, so I'll press the shaft inward to activate the center button. I don't expect it to give us a response, but we'll do it anyway. Okay, no response. Now let's do something fun. Let's try testing the diagonals on this little switch type thumb controller. So I'll go up left, and it gives us P12. So left is P9, up left is P12, up is P13. Pretty cool. It seems to be working perfectly now. And I'll try the upright diagonal, P16. So P13 is up, P16 is upright, and right is P1. So it looks like the diagonals are working as well as the cardinal directions. Now let's test the buttons. Red button says K1, yellow button says P13. So right now, switch 1 is down and 2 is up, and the yellow button is giving us P13 on our display. So I'll put switch 1 up and switch 2 down and press the yellow button, and we get K4 in our display. Okay, so when we press the yellow button now, it simulates button number 4 on an Aquarius controller, which is probably how I would use it. So that would be the second fire button, with dip switch 1 in the up position, dip switch 2 in the down position. So it seems like you want to have one switch up and one switch down at all times. So I'll leave switch 1 up, switch 2 down. Now I get K4 on our display, and the red button gives us K1 on our display. So I have 2 fire buttons working and all 8 directions working now on our switch. So that's pretty cool. Now I'm going to reassemble this controller board into the housing, and I can test it properly as it should be tested, all fully assembled. So stick around, we'll come back and do our final test. All right, time for our probably final test for now. I've got my YMR Mini joypad all reassembled, except for, unfortunately, the cool, funky rainbow thumb pad that it came with. I don't know how to reattach it to these new switches, this new switch that I installed, because I don't have a 3D printer and I don't know how. I don't have Ricky's expertise in connecting these things together and making the physical aspects of them fit together, so I don't know how to make this thumb pad fit onto the switch. It just is not the same size as the old arrangement that he had set up when he built this for me. So for now, I'm just going to test it just by manipulating the switch itself without worrying about the thumb pad for now, which is a real shame because I love using this little thumb pad. But at some point, I'll figure out how to get it connected properly. But for the purpose of today's testing, we will just test it like this. It's all reassembled. Now I have it connected up to my Aquarius Plus computer through my Atari joystick adapter cable, and we're going to try playing a game first of all on the Aquarius Plus. So let's find a game we can play. I'm going into the games directory, and let's try Jetpack again. Although I should try one of my own games, I guess, but let's try Jetpack. There we go. Now you won't be able to hear the sound because I haven't hooked up any external speaker, but we don't need that in order to test this joypad. Press fire on joystick, press end to exit. And I have this switch setting at the back. These dip switches are configured for the yellow button to operate currently as a second fire button. But as I play this, if it works, I will change this configuration so we can try the other setting for the yellow button. All right, so let's press the red button to fire. It does start the game. And it looks like the switch is working. I can go left, right, up, down. I can fire. The second button, the yellow button, is not doing anything, which I wouldn't expect it to because this game I don't expect even uses two buttons. But yeah, I can go ahead and play this game perfectly with this little controller. That is cool. Okay, that's neat. So what I want to do now is switch over the... Actually, before I switch anything, let me see if this game uses diagonals. It does. Look, you can see I can fly in diagonal directions as well. So I'm really surprised that this little switch can even do diagonal directions because it is really a 4-position switch. But if you happen to press in a diagonal direction, you can activate 2 of those switches at once and get a diagonal direction happening, which is obviously what we're doing here. Cool. So I can go up, down, left, right, and diagonals. Okay, cool. Wow, this is neat. I wish I could get this thumb pad working on here, but like I said, I'll figure that out later somehow, hopefully. So let's go ahead and switch over this dip switch now and change the operation of that yellow fire button, which will no longer be a fire button, but it should be an up button. All right, so back in a new game, pressing the yellow button works as an up button now. So the yellow button moves me up now because I've changed the configuration of those switches on the back. Cool. Okay, this is really neat. Yeah, that's really cool. So you know what I may do is just end up gluing this thumb pad on here or something so that I can actually use it. You see it's kind of loose when I put it on here now. So I can't actually use it as a thumb pad reliably, but I really want to. So I want to. Maybe I'll contact Ricky to see if he can suggest me some way I could hook up this. Oh, it kind of works. I can still use it as a thumb pad. It fits loosely, but it still works. And there's my yellow second button going up. This is really cool. This is really neat. This is a cool little controller. You know, it's really fun to see what different types of controllers can be used on different types of computers, especially these retro computers, because, you know, different people prefer different types of controllers. Some people like joysticks. Some people like thumbsticks. Some people prefer the original Aquarius horrible controllers. I'm not mentioning any names, TJ Ferreira, but some people are kind of nutty that way and prefer those original controllers. This is really cool. I'm really enjoying this stick. So, you know, I don't know if I'm even going to bother replacing this switch with that other one that I showed you earlier in the video that actually is advertised as an 8-way switch, because this thing is working fine in 8 directions just as it is. So I don't know if it's even worthwhile swapping this out. I don't think I'll bother, to be truthful, because this is working just fine. This is cool. Okay, so there we go. Let me switch the camera over and we'll do a final wrap up. All right, so there we go. We have tested our YMR Pad full size. Works fantastic, and it feels comfortable in the hand with these nice smooth curved handles, and of course it has the cool YMR robot sticker on there. And we have successfully repaired all of my things that I broke in this thing while I was trying to check out the insides of it. So sorry about that, Ricky. I kind of destroyed your controller a little bit, but I was able to mostly fix it, except for not being able to figure out how to reattach this cool thumb pad just yet, but I will get that figured out. So this little controller is really neat. I love the feel of it, and it's a great little controller, particularly if you want to just have a controller you can grab and use on the go, throw it in a backpack. Maybe you're having an 8-bit party and you want to just throw in some compact gear you can play with, like a mini controller, like a Aquarius Plus. But of course, if you wanted to use an Atari style controller with the Aquarius Plus computer, you would need this adapter cable, which you probably don't have. But if you're using this controller with any other type of systems that are designed for use with Atari style controllers, such as the Spectrum Next computer and a multitude of other gaming systems and computers that were designed to use Atari style controllers, then this has got you covered. So there you go. We have the full-size controller and the new cute little mini controller, both now working perfectly. So I want to give a big thanks to Ricky for sending me this gear. It's really cool. I really appreciate it. You know, I don't just get this stuff and throw it in a box and leave it on the shelf and forget about it. I really appreciate having these things to test and to use. And I find that each one has its own purpose, and it has its own flavor, and it has its own usage and its own personalities. So there we go. That's it for today. This has been a long video, and actually it took a lot of producing this video. I think, what was it? It's been 4 days now and multiple hours doing all these technical testing and repairs and everything. Mostly my fault, but still, it was fun going through the process, and I'm glad you were able to join me on the journey. So as always, thanks for watching. Take care of yourself. Until next time, we'll see you later. Bye for now.